Welcome back, everybody, to Crypto News.
This is the first global private meeting.
Cathie Wood, the founder and CEO of Ark Invest, is in an interview today with What Bitcoin Did. Subscribe to Crypto News for the latest on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And listen in to what Cathie Wood said.
It seems to me like, especially in the UK, every time they pull one thing, they're breaking something else.
Yeah.
And for me, it seems like nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
That's one reason I'm such a Bitcoin fan,
Okay, let's talk.
Brett Winton, our director of research, when we were at AllianceBernstein together, was occasionally bringing into our brainstorm on Fridays this thing called Bitcoin. So that really started in 2011. We started ARK in 2014. I guess we had gone through Mt. Gox, and so we said, okay, let's start with next generation internet. And as time went on and we did our research on Bitcoin, and the first paper we wrote was in 2015, and it was in collaboration with Art Laffer. And so I said, Art, I want you to take this paper, Can Bitcoin Serve the Three Roles of Money? And I want you to tear it apart. Now, Art is known for his fiscal policy expertise, but his mentor was Robert Mundell, who won a Nobel Prize for his monetary theory. And he was very involved in bringing the euro together. So I don't know how people feel about that these days, but nonetheless.
I'm glad we're not part of it.
Yes, there you go. So then, so Art did rip it apart, and which was fantastic. And he came back to us and he said, I've been looking for this ever since we went off the gold exchange standard. He said, it's a rules-based monetary policy, rules-based monetary system. And I said, and he said, I may not agree with the rule, because he was thinking more in terms of inflation. So you'd want a price rule as opposed to store of value, which quantity. He says, but it's okay. It's a rule, and we need to get back to this. And I said to him, Art, how big could this be? And he said, well, how big is the U.S. monetary base? Now, Bitcoin was $250 at that time. So it was roughly a $6 billion network value or market cap. And I said, he said, how's the monetary? I said, it's $4.5 trillion. He said, there's your answer. I said, really? And I immediately, I put a lot of money, especially our analyst, Chris Bernisky at the time.
I know Chris.
You know Chris.
Yeah.
So our analyst, he was the one really doing the work on the paper, and hand-selected Yassine, which has made us very happy. But he... your question again, I lost that.
What was your moment where you realized, which you've explained?
So I put... I don't think I've ever disclosed this before, but I put $100,000 in.
$250.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Bitcoin that is. What's that? 400 Bitcoin?
I don't even know, and I wasn't counting at the time. But and I've kept it all, but because as soon as he said that, the light bulb went on.
You did that personally or with the fund?
Couldn't do it with the fund because we had to find a security. And so this thing called GBTC, which everybody knows now is Grayscale Bitcoin Investment Trust, that had the 1-year holding period, and they were just cycling through that.
Sorry, this is the rules of your fund. It means you can't.
Yes, ETFs can only own securities. Yes. And so we had to find one. And we found Grayscale. Actually, Grayscale was one block away from us in Chelsea.
Nice.
And so they opened their books, and we had to go to the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, we had to do so much to get Bitcoin in. So we put it in ARKW, our next generation internet fund, first, and then we put it into ARKK, which is the flagship fund. But I think, and Chris, when he saw me do that, all of a sudden he felt so much more responsible. He did anyway, but 100,000 is like, okay, she just did that, and she did it off my research and so forth. So it was. He doubled down as well. So I mean, it's a great story because, well, it ended well, right?
Yeah. Cloud-based blockchain node service, but it